Joining me now is Sheriff David Clarke. And, sir, it's good to have you back on the show. As a society, I think we have a real problem here. The belief that policing is a threat in mainstream is mainstream now in this society.
You know, this is sad commentary on our society as a whole. Some of the clips that you just played, those are all lies. They're damn lies, if you will. Pardon my expression, especially from people like Eric Adams and then that last clown that you had on talking about the leading cause of death is police violence for black men. No, it isn't. The leading cause of death for black males between the ages like 15 and 25, gunshot wounds delivered by other black people, of course. They don't want to talk about that. This is used to mask the real problem in our ghetto communities. Now, look, what happened in Memphis, uncalled for. Those officers retained their presumption of innocence. I'm going to give them that, and they'll get due process. I'm going to give them that. But we can still make some observations. And you mentioned one of the first things that I looked at before disbanding the Scorpion unit, if I were Chief Saralyn Davis, who, by the way, was fired from the Atlanta Police Department for a botched sex crimes investigation. Why would Memphis hire her? And then you look at some of the other things that they've done. They've watered down the standards for law enforcement officers. They accept things like this on a person's record as they're applying to be a police officer in Memphis. You can get a waiver for employment for a person who's been convicted or pled guilty to or entered a plea of no contest to any felony charge, any violation of federal or state law, including theft, dishonesty, gambling, controlled substances. That speaks to character. I don't care how desperate they are for law enforcement officers. You cannot do that. You're asking for trouble. And I'm not saying that had anything to do with these 5 or 6 officers that were involved in this thing, but that's where I'd start before disbanding units. If you look at the violent crime rate in Memphis, it's off the charts. According to a Wall Street study using FBI stats, Memphis in 2021 has been ranked as the most dangerous city in America. The homicides are off the charts. The aggravated assaults, rapes are off the charts. That's why this unit was formed, to try to get violent crime.
But Sheriff, when you watch the mainstream media, you just listed off how awful the situation is in Memphis, Tennessee. Nobody knows any of that. The only people that know how bad it is in Memphis, Tennessee are people that live in those neighborhoods, are black families trying to just live their life in those neighborhoods, and they listen to gunshots every single night. The media doesn't touch any story about how awful the crime is. They sit and they wait until cops do something terrible, and then they try and pretend that all cops are like this and eviscerate policing, which exacerbates that problem even further.
Sure. And you know what? Nobody's going to try to I'm not anyway. I'll speak for myself. I'm not going to try to justify the officer's actions in this incident. However, to throw the baby out with the bathwater and start talking about things, lying about police violence, these anomalies that happen in our society, and they happen in other professions as well, and probably even more, where you get some bad apples, and we need to weed them out. That's the chief's job. The chief should have taken the time before she disbanded this unit. And the reason I'm saying this is because you know who's going to pay the brunt here? Black people living in those high crime areas are going to pay the brunt of not having another tool with which the police can use to keep violence and crime under control. So the question for Chief Davis, and I haven't heard anybody in the media ask her this, they're all talking about what a great job she's doing with this. I think she's doing a horrible job of leadership with this thing. They should say, what are you going to replace that with? That thing was formed to control violent crime. You took it away. What are you going to replace it with? No one's asked her, and she hasn't offered anything that she's going to put forth. But again, I would ask, why would the city of Memphis hire Saralyn Davis as their chief when she was fired from the Atlanta Police Department for a botched sex crimes investigation?
Yeah, well, as sad as it is to say, it probably because she's a black woman, and that hits some kind of mark that they needed to hit. And that's the reality of the situation. Yeah, checks all the boxes. Sheriff, thank you so much for giving us an honest conversation about this. And I agree with you. The video is terrible. I'm not defending the video, but I think you're going to see a lot more of that if society continues to behave in the way that it is in regards to public safety, policing, and crime. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.